In today's show, most of the Trailblazers brave the elements, and Anfernee Simons delivers with a winner just before the buzzer. Here's how they got there and how they didn't. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter, Mike Richman. You're listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Thanks for making this show your first listen, coming at you each and every weekday, Monday through Friday. So make it a part of your daily routine, make it your first listen. It's Locked On Blazers, your team every day. In today's show, we're talking Blazers Nets. We'll recap that game. It was a icy, snowy weekend in Portland, and it ended with Anfernee Simons hitting a game winner with just 0.2 seconds remaining. Recap that game, talk about the new starting lineup that the Blazers are playing or played in this game, and the sort of implications for this small, large, long-term, medium-term. I think this was a very small thing in the grand scheme that suggests some larger stuff in the bigger scheme. We'll talk about the new starting lineup that we saw tonight in the second segment. And then DNP Ice. DeAndre Ayton did not make it to the arena because of a whole bunch of ice in the Portland metro area. I will tell you all about that saga to close the show. But first, let's do what we do. Fastest recap in the West. Blazers win 105-103, snapping a 4-game skid. They needed a win in the worst way. They have lost 7 of 9, all by double digits, most of them by 20 plus, 6 of those by 20 plus. Those 2 wins in there, both against Brooklyn. Schedule more games against the Nets. Adam Silver, is that possible? Can we do that? Someone call Adam up and see if we can get that on the books. Blazers led 24-23 after 1. Both teams played a bunch of zone and on defense and looked like they did not know how to score against zone on offense. Really brutal sort of viewing first quarter, but the game got better from there, much more aesthetically pleasing from that point forward. 52-51 Nets at the break, and then it looked like maybe the Blazers were going to, put together a really solid third quarter and build a little comfortable lead. They lead by 7 with about halfway through the quarter, but over the final 7 minutes of the third quarter, Nets outscored the Blazers 23-7, and they actually led by 11. They were up, it's a 23-5 run. They actually led by 11, but Malcolm Brogdon hits a shot at the buzzer, cuts it to 9. It's 83-74 heading into the fourth quarter, and the Nets would not lead by more than 9 for the rest of the game. The Blazers cut into it. And this was a fun and entertaining game down the stretch. 7 lead changes in the final 7 minutes of this one, final 6:56 of this one. In the final 2 minutes, join me there. We're going to speed ahead to 1:48 left. Spencer Dinwiddie drives, gets moving to his left, from right to left, draws a foul, hits 2 free throws. The Nets go up by 4 with 1:48 left. But Malcolm Brogdon returns the favor on the other end. He drives, gets a foul call on Mikal Bridges. Spencer Dinwiddie misses a layup, and Anfernee Simons hits a little pull-up jumper from the left side, and 54 seconds remaining. This game is tied at 101. So the Nets get the ball back. Mikal Bridges drives and misses a reverse layup. I thought it was going in. It was a pretty good move. Blazers played pretty good defense, but I thought he was going to make it anyways. It bounces out. Blazers say, okay, let's go the other way. It's a high ball game. Take our time. Go get a bucket and win it. Malcolm Brogdon misses a late clock 3. Toumani Camara keeps the rebound alive. Battles of the Blazers playing small. Toumani Camara is functionally the center, I guess. He's keeps the ball alive. Battles to make sure the Blazers are going to have a chance to get an offensive rebound. Jeremy Grant, as the ball pops back up, noted rebounding enthusiast and ace, someone who's always cleaning the glass. You can always rely on Jeremy Grant to grab a bunch of rebounds. He does what he does. Tips in the layup, and the Blazers go up 103-101 with 9.7 seconds left. So now they need to stop. This is a game pretty similar to what happened in the game in Brooklyn. As the Blazers went a little bit early, Shaedon Sharpe makes a bucket with 6 seconds left. You need to stop, or you're going to go to OT. But now it's 10 seconds left, and the Blazers are winning, so the Nets aren't going to wait. You're not going to get a late clock game. You're not going to, they're going to go, and they go right away. Cameron Johnson drives on Jeremy Grant, scores, layup on the right-hand side, and we're tied at 103. Chauncey Billups takes his final timeout. 5.2 seconds left. At this point, Jeremy Grant has 30. And Anfernee Simons has 18 on 7 of 19 shooting. But he did hit that nice little pull-up jump shot with with a minute left, and they've been running late game offense through them. They ran what I said I really enjoyed, actually, that led to the Malcolm Brogdon 3-point miss and the eventual Jeremy Grant tip-in, was a double screen where Brogdon and Jeremy Grant set screens for Anthony Simons. 2 shooters setting screens for Ant with the floor spread with Jabari Walker and Toumani Camara on the court. Like, I like it. I like the personnel groupings and what they got into. But with 5 seconds left, you're not going to run something fancy. You're not going to bring a screen to the ball. You don't want to send a second defender to Anthony Simons, and they don't go to Jeremy Grant. He's just not a good enough ball handler, not a good enough pull-up shooter to catch it at like 35 feet and ask him to go get it. He's like, he's an ISO guy, but he needs to catch it like 19 and in, and then he can use his kind of whirling dervish fall over, big long strides, bony elbow types of moves. But they go to Ant because they've been going to Ant. He's been struggling. He was listed as questionable in this game with an illness, and he hasn't shot particularly well, but he's been playing through him down the stretch, and he set a big bucket with about a minute to go. 5 seconds left. They get it to him. No screen. Do not bring a screen in these situations. In a tie game, 5 seconds left, go 1-4 flat. Go vanilla as possible in these games, because you just want to shoot it you just want to shoot it as the clock strikes 0. You want to make sure they don't get another shot attempt, and you just want to live and die with a jumper, basically. Live and die with your best offensive creator shooting a shot. Keep it simple in these specific situations, tie ball game stuff. Tie ball game, 5 seconds left. Just go. Run the just go play. And they do. They run Ant down towards the baseline, set a zipper screen or a down screen for him so he can come up to get the ball. It's him on Mikal Bridges. You can tell as soon as Ant catches it, Mikal Bridges is signaling to Spencer Dinwiddie, who's guarding the inbounder, Malcolm Brogdon, to come double teams. Come double. If you watch the replay, he's waving his arm. Come double, because they know Anthony Simons doesn't want to pass. They know they want it to be anyone else other than Anthony Simons. They want to scramble and make it to Toumani Camara, for God's sakes. But Spencer Dinwiddie comes late. Anthony Simons easily gets past Mikal Bridges with a left-hand dribble, splits that double team, way late double team. It wasn't there. It was just like by the time Ant is getting past Mikal Bridges, Spencer Dinwiddie is like still a step and a half from him. But the double team was coming, and Ant knew it was coming, so he just went ahead and got to where he wanted to go. Splits it with his left hand, gets back to his right hand, floater over Nick Claxton, swish. With 0.2 seconds left, the Blazers are going to go on to win this because the Nets don't even get a shot off when on their lob attempt play at the buzzer, and the Blazers win 105-103. That's your fastest recap in the West. What a freaking game! Talk about the Blazers really, really, really needing it. They really needed it. They really did. They've had some stinkers. I talked about the. We'll go to the box score in a moment, but I talked about the game against the Nets. They've lost. They've lost 7 of 9. They lost 7 of 8 coming into this one. But those losses by 21, 29, 36, 28, 62, 23, and 11, a respectable 11 against Phoenix. But they got smoked on that road trip. They get an overtime win against the Nets. They get smoked at the end of that road trip. They come back and lose to Phoenix, and it's like, if there's a win on their schedule that's like reasonable, this is it. I mean, they play the Pacers without Tyrese Halliburton Friday. Conceivably, they could win that game, but then they go back out on the road, and it's going to get messy again. It's like if they're going to get another win, just like that game against the Nets before, if they're going to get a win, it's like they needed it, and they delivered, baby. An overtime win against the Nets and a last-second win against the Nets. I would say these two teams, pretty even. Pretty even. But Ant was great down the stretch, and Jeremy Grant was really, really, really good to keep the Blazers in this game. To the box score we go. Jeremy Grant did lead the way with 30 points. He added, like I said, 8 rebounds. Man, always rebounds. Check the stats. And 1 assist. That's a classic. Jabari Walker had 4, 17 and 7 for Duop, 12 in the first quarter, or excuse me, in the first half. He's fun, but they had to get him out of the game at the end because for defenses and just offensive versatility stuff. Anthony Simons, 20 points, 4 boards, 4 assists. Malcolm Brogdon, who got the start. That's your new starting lineup right there. 16, 5, and 6 dimes for Malcolm Brogdon, who got the start and played 30 minutes. That's Brogdon, Simons, Walker, Grant, and Reith. You choose who's playing power forward, who's playing small forward with Jabari Walker and Jeremy Grant. That's the ideal pairing for Jeremy Grant, is that he's just playing forward and not power forward. You can't tell who's who, and the other guy's a good rebounder like Jabari Walker. 7 off the bench for Scoot Henderson, who played 23.5 minutes. He was 1 of 6 from the floor, but hit 5 free throws. Toumani Camara goes to the bench. He finishes with 6 points. 2 for Ibubaji, 3 for Matisse Thybulle. Matisse Thybulle, no steals in this game. It ended a 27-game streak A 27-game streak, second longest in franchise history, tied a second longest in franchise history with steals for games with steals, consecutive games with steals. Clyde Drexler holds the record with 33. Matisse Thybulle, great defensive playmaker, fun player. Did not finish with a steal, and Chris Murray played a very brief 2-minute shift and was scoreless. On the Nets side, Mikal Bridges led the way with 21, 4 and 4, 19 and 7 assists for Spencer Dinwiddie, 13 and 5 assists for Cameron Johnson. Nick Claxton had 12 points and 12 boards, 7 and 5 for Dorian Finney-Smith, 13 off the bench for Lonnie Walker, Cam Thomas 8. My man from Fayetteville, North Carolina, Dennis Smith Jr. had 2, Royce O'Neal 2, and old friend Trendon Watford 6 points and 2 assists, 6 points, 2 assists. Let's that's your box score. That's your fast recap in the wet. Let's talk about this starting lineup, because I think this is a small thing that means a big thing. To me, it means a big thing, but it is a small thing. Let's talk about the sort of all of the implications of why the lineup changed and what it means for the future of the Trail Blazers. We'll talk about that in the second segment. First, let me tell you about Prize Picks. It's daily fantasy made easy. You can play Prize Picks on the app. Super easy, and when you win, get your money quickly, and you can play quickly too. So play quick, get your money quick. What more could you want? How it works is you make an entry between 2 and 6 players, and it's just you versus the Prize Picks stat projections. You pick more or less than the stat projections they set. So it's all the sports you could ever imagine. For the NFL during the playoffs, NHL all regular season long, and the NBA as we roll along here. If you play the NBA like me, it's things like points and rebounds and assists and steals. It's just more or less than the stat projections set by Prize Picks. You versus the numbers. No field, no sharks, no nothing. And right now, if you go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA, you can get a first deposit match up to $100. They're going to match you dollar for dollar on your first deposit up to $100. Put in $20, getting $20. Put in $50, getting $50. Put in $100, they'll match you $100. But only if you go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use that promo code LockedOnNBA. One more time for you, prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. Use that promo code LockedOnNBA. It's Prize Picks, daily fantasy made easy. All right. So the lineup changed. It was actually probably supposed to include DeAndre Ayton, but he did not make it to the arena. We've had a ton of ice and winter weather, and the temperature's been in the teens, and he was unable to leave his home in the West Lynn area and make it to the arena. More on that to close the show. So, but the Blazers trotted out a new starting lineup. Out Scoot Henderson. Out Toumani Camara. In Malcolm Brogdon. In Jabari Walker. Everybody else stays. Shante, you stay. Anthony Simons and Jeremy Grant and Duop Reith. I assume it would be very weird if DeAndre comes back and doesn't start, but there's always a chance. But this starting group, it's probably a group that makes more sense in the grand scheme of what the Blazers need from around their veterans. Let me be 100% clear. So there is no question about this. Malcolm Brogdon is a lot better at basketball than Scoot Henderson in January 2024. A lot better. Maybe 2 standard deviations better. Scoot is struggling right now. He is, he's coming off a big game, 33, but it took him 31 shots. The efficiency is just not there. Teams don't guard him from 3. He actually hasn't shot terribly from 3, but nobody respects him as a 3-point shooter. And the much more troubling thing for Scoot, it's not the shooting, it's the finishing. He just can't make layups. And that's going to be, for me, like everyone talks about the shooting and the shooting as the swing skill. And can he shoot in the NBA? If he's not a high-level finisher, that's the problem for him. He's 19. We're 30 games in. There is such a long way to go for Scoot. I still believe he's going to be a productive NBA player. I'm pretty genuinely not worried about him, but also he has not been good. He's not been good. He was supposed to be better than this. He's been bad. I thought he was going to be I thought he was going to score at a high level in the league, at least score with high volume on low efficiency. He doesn't score at high volume. He's not that. He's not a good offensive player right now. He's a really good passer, but he's struggling. And the way he gets defended, they just stand in the paint. They'll stand with a foot on the lane, even when he's on the strong side, and dare him to shoot it. And they go way under on screens, and it really mucks up the Blazers' spacing. It makes things tough. And you put him on the court, And then you put Toumani Camara, who teams do not guard, and you put two total non-shooters, who two teams actively disrespect and bait into shooting, and there is not very much room to operate. Hence the freaking lineup change. Like, it is so reasonable. Another sort of skill caveat, Jeremy Grant doesn't rebound. I know that I said he rebounds a lot in the first segment, but he's terrible at it. He's never been a good rebounder. This is not who he is. This shouldn't be. I'm sure it's not a surprise to the Portland Trail Blazers that Jeremy Grant is not a good rebounder, but he's not. He's just not a rebounder. He is what he is at this point in his career. He's a dude who scores. If you need that skill set, he'll get you 30 against the Nets and carry your offense on 14 of 26 shooting. Like he went out there and made a ton of 2-pointers. He only took 4 threes, didn't take any free throws. He went out there and made 12 2-point field goals, attacked and scored in the mid-range and in the paint area. Dude's a bucket, not a rebounder, not a passer. So putting Jabari Walker on the court next to him has real value. Jabari is a really good rebounder. In fact, they shared this on the broadcast. Tom Haberstroh shared this, is that the Blazers' offensive rebounding rates as a team, their like total team offensive rebounding rate is among the tops in the league when Jabari Walker is on the court. Now, like, those stats are noisy, and I'm sure Tom knows that, but like, that checks with the eye test, right? Is that Jabari Walker doesn't just get rebounds, is that he fights and keeps rebounds alive, or he's active and lets, because he's active and because he's a pursuer of rebounds, lets other people go get boards, or keeps, defenders don't grab it cleanly and the ball pops up and creates more opportunities and all those things, right? You had a better rebounder next to Jeremy Grant, and you had a better shooter next to Anthony Simons, and things are going to work a little better. That's just like, this is a move that, I think I've been lower on Toumani maybe than some fans, just because I think he's just like a negative on offense right now. But like, and it's like Jabari Walker's not much better on offense, to be totally clear, but I think he does different things. And the skill set's a little bit different, so maybe it's more complementary for this specific group. But like, I think it's reasonable and right for Chauncey Billups to keep tinkering. Like, this team has not been playing well. This is not the time to say, like, let's keep going, let's push forward and keep doing this. If you're trying to win, it's the right thing to do. Chauncey Billups is the coach. He's trying to win the games. He's coaching to win the games. And I think he's coaching to put Anthony Simons in better positions. And now Ant wasn't great in this game. This didn't like magically make Ant great. He was 1 of 7 from 3. Like, he was sick or whatever, but I subscribe to this maybe old school notion that, like, if you're on the injury report and you play, you played, you're available, and you just will judge you for your performance. But like, he was sick, listed as sick coming in this game. But like, it didn't magically make Ant better, right? But it does. You can watch it and see Anthony Simons have more space, because he has more space, because you have to respect more shooters. You give Jeremy Grant more space because there's more shooters. Malcolm Brogdon's a great catch and shoot shooter. Anthony Simons gets respected as a shooter. Duop Reath's shooting opens things up, and I think that'll be interesting when DeAndre Ayton comes back, what spacing looks like, and we'll talk about that once he finally returns to the lineup. But all of these decisions, like, they make sense. But the larger implication is a little bit troubling to me. If Scoot Henderson and Anthony Simons can't play next to each other, that is not a problem for January or February or whatever this season. That is a problem for down the line. If the Blazers, and I don't know that they've determined this, right? But this lineup decision implies that, that pairing doesn't work. And you've watched the freaking games, maybe if you haven't, you've heard me after I've watched the freaking games. Like, that duo together is bumpy, is rocky. And part of it's rocky just because Scoot's not very good right now. But like, and Scoot's coming off, maybe he's like one of his, career high, all that stuff. Like, he played 40 minutes against the Suns, and he comes back and he plays 23 minutes. Are the Blazers, what? So there's two things. One is the long-term implications of Scoot and Simons as a pairing. Like, the Blazers, way too early to give up on Anthony Simons in terms of like what they're doing. They don't like pivoting to the young guards when Ant is so much better than them doesn't make any sense. It would be like straight up malpractice. But if those two gentlemen can't play together because they both need the ball in their hands, and Scoot's lack of spacing and Scoot's lack of sort of ability to command defensive respect makes it impossible for Anthony Simons to be the best version of himself, that is something that matters for the future. And the pair, if that pairing together is also untenable on defense because they're both bad defenders, that is something that means something for the future. It's not anything you're going to decide now. It's not anything you're going to even maybe learn now. But if you've determined that it's as after you've played it for a handful of games, 10 or so games, like this is untenable, it means something for the future. I will circle this with a red pen. Actually, I'm a purple pen guy. I'll hold that up for you if you're watching on YouTube. I'll circle that with a purple pen on my calendar. This game is maybe a game to circle. Like, okay, they agreed that something needed to change. It's a logical change, but it has implications for the future. And the other thing is, what are we doing? Like, what are the Blazers doing? I think winning is important. They need a win for the vibes. I don't think they need to lose every single game, and I don't think they need to never play someone over the age of 27 under any circumstances. I don't believe that. But is playing Scoot Henderson 23 and a half minutes the best use of the resources for this franchise when you're playing Malcolm Brogdon, who's probably not going to be on the team after Valentine's Day? The trade deadline's February 8th, but I'm just using a little more colloquial marker. Like, he's not going to be, he's almost certainly going to be traded over the next 3 weeks. Is playing him 10 more minutes a night than Scoot, does that have value? Is that I understand why they didn't do it, for the basketball reasons, the sort of obvious like statistical and X's and O basketball reasons, stuff you can just see and watch and know, and just like basketball logic. But like, I think there's value in the franchise figuring out how the Scoot-Ant pairing works, and if it doesn't work, it has larger implications. And I don't think there's any reason Scoot Henderson shouldn't be playing at least 28 minutes a night. He's not good. Let him play. The team is 11-29. Just like, at this point, it is time to let the band play as the ship goes down. Let those violins run their course. Let them go ahead and play the song, because what are we doing? What are we doing? I don't think, like, in general, I don't think it's like a really big deal, but I think it is a notable occurrence. I think this is a notable occurrence that Chauncey Billups feels this way, and I don't think he's wrong. Like, I don't think he's wrong to say, okay, it would be much better to have Brogdon play next to Anthony Simons because he's a better basketball player. And the splits suggest that Scoot is like way better off the bench, but like the splits don't know who he played with. Off the bench, he played a lot with Duop Reith, who he's better with, played a lot with Malcolm Brogdon, who's better with. Like, the splits don't just say go to the bench and you're magically better. The splits have context as well, and the Blazers kind of dropped that context by who was in the starting lineup. I'll watch this. I think this is an important thing to monitor going forward, because if Ant and Scoot cannot play together, it is a much bigger deal for the 2025 Trailblazers than it is for, whatever the next month of basketball is going to be. Okay, let me tell you a story about Ice and DeAndre Ayton and not making it to the game. And a little weather report for you from the Portland metro area. That's what we'll do to close the show. Have a little fun. Join me in the DNP Ice story of a lifetime in the third segment. First, let me tell you about Game Time. It's the place for last-minute tickets. Listen, if you are dealing with winter weather conditions and say that the city of Portland has been in the teens for 4 straight days, we received a couple inches of snow, and then on top of that, about an inch or so of ice, and in some elevations more than that, and the city was just straight up froze up, and for whatever reason, we don't take care of it, and you're like, wait, I want to go to the game. It's a last minute decision, but I want to go to the game. The number one spot for you during an ice storm to make your last minute decision is Game Time. I like Game Time because you get the all-in pricing. When you open up the app, you search Trailblazers, you get a view of the Moda Center right there on your phone, and you can say, okay, $78. Cool, I'm in. And you're not going to get any hidden fees. You're not going to get any convenience charges. $78. What you see is what you get pricing. So If you are a procrastinator, why don't you take the hassle out of buying tickets with Game Time? Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDON, you get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, use the redemption code LOCKEDON. That's LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. That's last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. Still a pass first point guard. I'm still Mike Richmond, and you are still listening to Locked On Blazers. Let me tell you a little story about DNP Ice. Yesterday, as you're actually listening to Thursday, January 18th show, I appreciate it. Thanks for listening. Tell your friends about the program. But on Tuesday, January 16th, the Blazers held a practice. DeAndre Ayton made it from his home in the West Lynn area south of town to the Tualatin, neighboring suburb of Tualatin, where the Blazers have their practice facility, and participated fully in practice. And Chauncey Billups told the assembled media that he looked great and he was excited for a return in the very near future from the Blazers starting center. All signs pointed to a return Wednesday against the Nets. He was, cleared to play. He was still in the injury report, but he's cleared to play prior to tip-off. The only problem was he was not at the arena, which is a problem because one of the best ways to participate in a basketball game is to be in attendance for the basketball game. But DA wasn't there because DA was at home, because DA was frozen in his house in the West Lynn area. He was iced out of the game. I will kick it over to Casey Holdall for the reports of this one. According to Casey Holdall, Trailblazers reporter for Trailblazers.com, a team writer for the team website, one of the longest tenured employees, maybe the longest tenured member of the Blazers traveling party. Shout out to Casey. He's been at it forever. But Casey reports. This is about 6 p.m. just before tip-off. Casey reporting this, that, quote, DeAndre Ayton tried for hours to combat the sheet of ice leading out of his neighborhood, and the team sent people out to help as well, but to no avail. So he is out for tonight's game in Portland. So DeAndre Ayton's at his house. It is iced over, and the Blazers send staff members of some flavor to go rescue him, and they can't quite get all the way to his house. And so he can't meet up with them. He can't get out. He's stuck, and the Blazers play a game without him that he was cleared to play in. DeAndre Ayton has missed 11 consecutive games. This was his 12th, but heading into tonight, 11 consecutive games. He had not played in a game since December 13th, dealing with inflammation in his knee. But he's finally cleared, missing nearly a month of basketball, going to play for the first time in 11 games, and he can't make it to the arena. This is made weirder by the fact that all of his teammates are there. All of them. They're all there. They're at the game playing. They all played. And his coaches are there. And the Blazers' whole freaking broadcast team is there. And everybody's there and they're playing and they're broadcasting the game on television so you can watch it because they're all at the arena and DA is not. Look, it was icy. I'll tell you a story. Here's my own story. Here's a little story about me. This is a Mike Richmond story. I woke up this morning. I have a small child, 1-year-old. Get her out of bed, take her downstairs. I have an electric coffee maker, and usually I get her all situated, and make sure she's eating breakfast and playing and cool, and then I make myself a cup of coffee, and I get after my day. Get her some food. We're reading a book on the couch, and the power goes out in my house, and it would be out for about 12 hours. And it was icy as hell. It was so icy. I saw a man ice skating on my street. Ice skating. He was wearing hockey skates. He's ice skating on my street, on the asphalt. Ice skating down the street. I live in a side street, so it's not taken care of by the city. Eventually, the house gets really cold and we have to leave and we have to drive a little bit. It's about a half mile to some friend's house, maybe a mile. And it was a treacherous drive, not on the main roads, but on the side streets and the sort of neighborhood connector streets, untreated by the city, left to our own devices. And if you're not living in the Portland metro area, On Friday, we started to have some winter weather. It snowed, and then on top of that snow, there was an icy layer that really set in about overnight Tuesday to Wednesday, and it was snowy and icy and in the teens, and nothing melted over the weekend, and then it got a lot worse. Tuesday to Wednesday evening, we got like an inch of just straight ice. My driveway was very hard to navigate. It took me forever to get my car out, and then we had to drive, very slowly to a warm place so we could make sure that our small child was warm and could, take a nap. But that was I was able to make it happen. I am sympathetic to how treacherous it was. When I was driving along the streets, the sidewalks are so icy and so iced over in the city that everyone's walking in the road. Like people walking their dogs and stuff are walking in the road because walking on the sidewalks is too slippery. I saw someone walking in the street trying to do that, about to fall over. A man just taking the tiniest little steps because he was about to fall over. We kind of made eye contact. I was in my car. He was like, "Please don't hit me if I fall." I gave him the peace sign. I said, "No, you're good. You're good. Me and you, we're not going to have interaction. I'm going to cruise by you and you might fall over after I leave, but you're good." It was icy. And and it's been challenging. And there's been people in the metro area who haven't had power since, Friday evening. And now we're in Wednesday. We're talking, 4.5, 5 days without power. It's been a long time. We ended up getting our power back. We're fine. I'm recording this podcast. It almost didn't happen though. I did not go to the Motor Center tonight because I didn't want to drive. I don't want to deal with it. I'd already had my snow experience, and going to see this particular game was not worth it for the hassle for me. But I'm not getting paid like DA. And I've been to a game in the last month. I've been there. I've gone to them. I've attended more games than he has. No, that's not true. He was on the road trip and stuff. I'm clowning now. But all of this is to say, it's bad out there, and the city of Portland and the sort of Portland metro area at large, we do not handle snow well, and I do not mean that to speak ill of my fellow citizens here. All of us, we handle snow fine. We're doing fine. I got my car where it needed to go and back, and it's fine. The city doesn't. The municipality doesn't take care. We don't have budget to take care of the icing. We don't really salt the roads because for environmental purposes, we don't have enough snowplows, and snowplows wouldn't even work against the ice because it was too thick and too slick. It would have to be pre-treatment of the roads like it is in other sort of in more winter condition heavy cities where they have more treatment of the roads. We just don't do that here. We don't do that here. We leave it to citizens. I've lived in Portland for 17 years. I would say unquestionably the city has gotten better at handling snow, and they still are very bad at it. It's not the problem of denizens. It's not the makeup of our citizens. It's not like all you people moved here from the Midwest and you still can't drive in the snow, haters. But we're not DA. We're not making $30 million. I will say this. I have no doubt in my mind. I'm familiar with the topography of the West Lynn area. It's very hilly. I'm sure it was awful where DA lives. He's rich. I bet he lives up on a big hill. I bet he has a great view of the river. I bet he has a wonderful home with a bunch of privacy, meaning a long driveway and a private road next to a bunch of other gigantic houses with long driveways, and I bet they were all iced in there. But look, when all of your other teammates get to the arena, it doesn't look good. This ice storm didn't sneak up on us. You had access to the internet and a smartphone. You probably could have checked the weather at any point. You could stay downtown at the new Ritz-Carlton. If you don't like the new Ritz, you could stay at the Nines. You could go to any number of your teammates' homes. You could stay at your coach's home. You could stay at a not super nice hotel. There's many hotel rooms across the city. You're extremely wealthy. You could have figured this out. I don't doubt that it was too hard for DeAndre Ayton to get out of his house at a certain point. I am skeptical of the level of effort that was put into it to get there, recognizing how incredibly icy and awful it is throughout the whole metro area. I just know who else was in attendance to the game, and I know that with all of the things people think about DeAndre Ayton and his sort of general disinterest in playing basketball, and then you are missing a month and you take a snow day off. Who among us hasn't milked a snow day at work? Who among us hasn't said, oh, it's a work from home day and just kind of done nothing because it's snowing? Yeah, that's a normal lifestyle thing, but it's not great for a starting center in the NBA to have that implication. Have that sort of feel to it. No doubt that that the conditions are terrible where he lives. No doubt that it was very, 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 very challenging to get out of there. Mitigation is possible. I bet a bunch of his teammates going home late at night after this, after this game, I bet it'll be dicey for them to get home. I bet it's relatively unsafe driving conditions. Like, I've been out there. It's not a good look. DNP ice is not a good look. I don't think it's like this big deal and you need to whatever, but it's not a good look. DNP ice will be one I remember. I'll remember DNP ice for sure. All right. That's going to do it for today's show. That's going to do it for DNP Ice. Tomorrow's show, it is a crossover edition with Alex Wolf of Locked On Knicks. He wants the Knicks to trade for Malcolm Brogdon. We recorded a show talking all about that trade potential. The idea of Brogdon to the Knicks. Talk about what the Knicks have to offer, what the Blazers have to offer, and all things in between. You're not going to want to miss that one. Go check that one out. It's in your feeds tomorrow. Then Monday, Blazers play Friday against the Pacers. I plan on being in attendance. No DNP ice for me. Then they head on the road Sunday against the Lakers in Los Angeles. That will be game 42. So Monday's show, the Blazers will be officially at the halfway point of the season. We'll recap both those games and we'll do a midseason check-in, a report card of sorts, talking about where the Blazers are at midseason. You're going to want to catch them all, right? This is straight Pokemon podcast. 5 days a week, wherever you get podcasts, and also on YouTube. Tell your friends about the program. I appreciate you listening. I'll talk to you soon.